Welcome to Tales from Tubi.
Hey Tubi friends! Welcome to a brand new episode of Tales from Tubi. If you're new here, this is where I take my love of horror movies and my love of Tubi and I mash them together in this nice little package. And we are deep in October, and I've had two wonderful guests come on the last two Fridays to talk some movies. I had Gerald from Two Peas on a Podcast and Jason from Binge Movies. We're not stopping yet. I have another special guest to come on to talk The Demon's Rook. I want to welcome in my good friend Drew from the Real Feels Podcast. I know you're excited for this, Drew. How's it going?
I'm more excited that you called me special, Brad. It kind of made my week.
And I know, I mean, we've been talking about this movie leading up to this recording, and you were like, I have so many notes.
I have so many questions. So many notes. But I'm excited to discuss.
No, I am. This is a movie that I started watching one day, and I was like, I need to talk about this. I need to bring someone to talk about this. Who would watch this? Talk about it with me.
Who has low standards? No, that sounds mean. That makes it seem like the movie is bad.
No, and what's crazy is, you know, I'm not going to say it was a bad movie. It was just...
I'm not going to say it was a great movie.
Odd. Very odd.
Yes. No. It was very, very odd, which is hence why I said I have so many questions. Because I think it could have the potential to... It could have been something really, really good.
Yeah.
But I think they were trying just a bit too hard.
A little bit. The Demon's Rook, like I said, it's from 2013.
There is a secret world where monsters rule in the shadows. Now the doorway has opened, and hell is hungry.
It's directed by James Sizemore. Also, he wrote it and he stars in the film. He's our Jesus-looking guy in the movie.
He's Roscoe.
Roscoe. And it's a young boy named Roscoe finds a portal to another world where he is taught magic by an elder demon known as Dimwos. Dimwos raises the boy into manhood, revealing to him many secrets. And that's our synopsis. That's all we get. There is a whole lot more to this movie than just that.
That's like a tenth of the movie.
Yes. I'm just going to state from the get-go that we're going to get into spoilers. So we're not even going to tiptoe around anything.
Yeah, there's no way to even tiptoe around this. You would have to spoil things in order to even try and facilitate any type of understanding. You would absolutely have to.
I think just like you, I knew nothing about this going in. I've always seen the cover, the blue with the demon on it.
Right. And you sent me a picture and you're all like, oh my God, dude, this just screams 80s. And
it does.
You have to see this. And I agree. The poster screams 80s. And I remember messaging you back saying like, dude, why is Skeletor from Masters of the Universe in another movie? Because that's exactly the make.
Yes.
That's what the makeup for Dimwos looks. It looks like.
Yeah. I agree.
I mean, I'll tell you right now, for the filming and for the makeup job that's done not only on the demons, but the zombies and the death effects for an estimated $75,000 for a budget. I mean, well done.
It was very well done. And I think I told you that if I hadn't known ahead of time that this movie was made in 2013, I would have swore this was a movie from the 80s. They did a great job giving me that look, that feel. Like it felt like those Italian zombie movies, how they're like the way their zombies move, the way they were lit and everything. It just, It felt like that type of film. And they nailed the look and feel of that. Especially with there were many scenes where the colors kind of coming up out of the ground, where it's all colorful, and then you have like at one point zombies coming out, and then the story you can't follow completely. That's why I was like, well, some of these Italian movies, I feel the same way. I'm like, what is going on?
There is a definite love for
a lot of things.
Background like lighting.
Yes.
And the emanating color of like red and green.
Yes.
And this is how like things are summoned.
And there was a lot of love for many, many other films. Like I started writing down like Demons, Night of the Demons, like Zombie, The Beyond, Night of the Creeps. Like this dude watched all these movies and was like, you know what? I want to make my own. I'm going to take little bits of all of this and put it together. Because there are multiple scenes where you're like, he pulled that directly out of one of these films.
Right. I literally wrote down...
You wrote a novel as you were watching it.
I wrote several notes, I did. But when you're saying that there's a lot of love for certain things...
Yes.
So when we get to this is kind of jumping ahead. But when they go to the campfire scene and everybody's sitting around and the guy's telling the story... And he says, he gets back to his house and he opens the door and there's the Yeti. And the Yeti reaches his hand out and he touches him on the shoulder and says, "Tag, you're it." And I wrote down, did this guy just fucking, reveal the ending to a Goosebumps book? Because that's exactly how the Goosebumps book, The Beast from the East, ends.
Okay.
That's literally how it ends. And there's no other way that he could know that unless he is a fan of R.L. Stine Goosebumps. So that has to be it.
He had to have been. I mean, I did not look up trivia to be like, this was based off of this, or he used this in it. There was just so much that I just got the feelings for as you're watching it. There are a lot of pieces that are confusing too. Because it starts off with Roscoe as just a little kid. And that whole beginning scene even was just kind of odd.
Okay, so first off, I don't understand how Dimwos is summoned. All Roscoe did, he looked outside, he saw the light glowing, he smiled, and then he suddenly sat down on his living room floor or on his bedroom floor, and then Dimwos is just there.
Come with me, boy.
Is he like Elliot from Pete's Dragon and Mary Poppins? Does he show up when children most need him? Is that what it is?
Maybe that's what it is. At that moment, that child needed him, so the child went with him.
If that's the case, and the next day, Roscoe's just playing, and then in comes Eva, and I want to know this, what rural community has all their men with these sideburns? Because both of the dads had the same style sideburns.
What year do you think that the beginning part where they were younger would be? Would you think 70s?
Maybe. I don't know. Because the truck that the dad was driving in could have been easily early 70s. Roscoe's dad wasn't driving anything. He was just picking figs off of a tree and eating them. So we didn't really get much character development from him.
True.
The mom was just washing dishes. I also want to know where they got all those straight sticks, because that's a lot of straight sticks that they were just randomly picking up in the yard. I don't know. It could have been the 70s, because even when he goes into the black womb, as it's described, all it says is years later. It doesn't give us 10 years later, 20 years later, but Roscoe is clearly... I think it's been 15 to 20 years later.
At least. Because he was pretty young. And then, he basically comes out like Jesus.
He comes out a grown man.
With the beard, long hair.
I would peg him at maybe 6 or 7. No, not 6. Maybe 8 or 9.
Yeah. So, before he disappeared.
It could easily be 15 to 20 years later. But I don't know. I find it so weird with some of the dialogue early on. When the mom is just clearly playing with her child and she's just tickling him on the ground. And the neighbor's all like, "Gosh darn it. isn't that boy silly enough without you like making him so? Make him do something, productive, like send him on over here for a drawing lesson.
Yeah.
And she's like,
yeah.
no, my kid hates drawing. And she's like, okay, well, I'm going back to work. And I'm like, okay, first off.
And the kid loves drawing. She's trying to stop mom. And she's like,
well, she's trying to stop her from going over to the neighbor's house, which, I mean, is there animosity? Because we don't know if there's animosity.
No.
And the neighbor just apparently hates children's laughter.
But wants the child to come over and draw with her.
Right. And then she said, well, I'm going back to work. And I'm like, okay, so is this your job? Because if this is your job, your artwork sucks. It looks like something a fourth grader would do in an after school program. Like, that's what her artwork looks like.
Is he teaching you or are you teaching him?
I love the fact that, like, is she doing like a bunch of self-portraits? Because they all look like self-portraits to me. And she seems so happy painting in the red on the lips. Like, she's so proud of herself. And I don't mean to like demean like someone's artwork, but if this is her job, like, who's buying these?
That was just on production one day. They were like, okay, we drew this quick picture. When I say action, just color the lips. Okay, just color those.
But they're all over her living room, which I guess is like an offshoot of the living room, which is like her art studio. She has like, a big old easel and drawing pads and everything like that. Yeah, it's so weird because then after that, like, it goes to the night where Dimwos is there and he wakes up to try and go and like get his parents, and the parents have just been like vaporized. Why?
There are many, many questions throughout this film that I don't think will ever get answered. I guess if we can get James Sizemore to, sit down with us and we can go through.
And again, this is not to like slander the effort of the film, because I can see the effort. I can see the productivity and I can see the talent in the film itself, especially for the fact that like he never went to school for special effects makeup.
No.
Everything was done from video tutorials and reading books.
It was great. Like the practical work in this was solid.
And so, yeah, a lot of it was really, really solid. I'm curious as to like if it was like a budgetary issue where things had already been filmed, but they didn't have the time to film more to explain it.
Looking at some of the trivia for it, it was filmed over 2 years. He only filmed it on weekends.
And then even the house that they were all like, the entire house in the county, and it had to be mine. It was actually his home.
His actual home got hit by a tornado.
And he's like, well, let's use it.
I mean, might as well, right?
Right. Why not?
And I guess the sound was done in post, like dialogue and stuff, because that was an odd part at first. It was like,
okay,
this seems very dubbed over. I didn't know if it was on purpose.
Thank you.
To make it feel like a Italian movie or, something like that. But it wasn't.
That was one of my notes where I'm like, is this dubbed? And I don't think I really even noticed that it was dubbed until Eva was in her house talking to her dad while they were painting stuff. I don't think I really noticed it until then.
Okay.
That seemed a lot clearer. And it might have been the fact that like stuff was brighter and I could, you could notice the characters, faces more. The night that the parents are destroyed, so Dimwos like reveals himself to the crazy neighbor. Mm-hmm. She sees the demons and she goes insane. And apparently she's had like fever dreams and nightmares for like 15, 20 years ever since.
Got the fever dreams. And then he comes back and he's like, Eva, it's me.
Don't you love that those were his first lines? Like that, those are his actual first words.
Where she'll look at him and be like, okay, crazy guy with a beard and long hair.
She's like, I don't know who you are. But okay, this is just like a minor thing that I noticed. I'm like, okay, so that kid's skin tone doesn't exactly match older Roscoe. That's fine. The kid has a completely different eye color than Sizemore.
Well, many years hanging out with a demon, learning things, stuff's going to change.
I think that's the only thing I'm going to be like super nitpicky on. I will say this, like when he's just like emerging from the forest and he's just crawling out, I love the look of fear. And I love like the paranoia in his face when he's trying to look around and get out.
Like he's trying to get away.
He's trying to get away. And I get the fact that like he's been stuck down there. But if he's grown into a full man, sorry, no clothes that he had on whatsoever are still going to fit him.
Maybe the demon kept clothes for him.
After all the parents that they murdered for sustenance.
Yep. They're just there.
See,
and there was a lot of that because there were multiple demons coming after him.
Yeah, there were 3.
And then he fought them. Like it just got to a point where I was trying to follow and I kind of gave up and just kind of like let the movie be and was like, okay, I'm just going to enjoy it.
This is kind of how I saw. And I don't know if like I just couldn't tell the difference between 2 of the demons, but one demon caused pure chaos. Okay. Like the one that made the campfire group murder each other.
Yes. Okay.
Like that one just caused chaos, which I kind of made the note of like worst bathroom break ever. And I didn't even want the demon there like eating the entrails. I wanted that girl to come back and like find everybody dead. And I wanted her reaction then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The other white-faced demon, he summons the dead. Like he summons his little horde.
All the zombies.
All the zombies.
Okay.
And then I think it's a different one, but then there's the one that goes to like the Rager, like the Halloween party.
I loved that scene, the like concert slaughter, so to speak.
Okay, so the concert slaughter, which I immediately wrote, okay, topless Halloween party, I'm in. And and this demon it was like getting hot on the people killing each other. Like that was its eroticism.
But the practical effects and the kills in that scene, I loved it.
It was great. It was so great.
Especially for a low, you'd probably say micro budget film. Like I'm like, this is impressive.
So. It didn't, I mean, it's 70, it said estimated $75,000. It's not even breaking $100,000.
Yeah. And it definitely, especially for the practical work, looked like it's more than 100%. That.
The special effects make up when like the guys at the construction site or the tornado house, when the guy is turned into, I don't know, like unfinished demon lackey, like the Cronenberg demon, essentially.
Okay, yeah.
So the bubbling that was happening on his face and like the horn coming through, that was great. I even wrote down, I'm like, good bubble.
Good bubble.
Good bubble. I don't know. I feel like I'm talking too much.
Well, you had a large
I
list
took a
of
large
notes.
amount of notes.
My notes were much smaller because I got to a point in the movie where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to stop. I'm just going to enjoy for what it is. I'm not going to try to follow
turn
along.
Off my brain. Turn off my brain and just ignore it. I mean,
I did feel like it was a little bit long.
At an hour 43, it could have been an hour 25 to an hour and a half. Solid.
And I wrote down it felt overly complex. Like I don't think he needed to put so much into it. And I'm sure he did because he was like, well, this could be my only movie. You know, who knows? He could have had plans for more of these to set this up and like, well, I got to do it all now. I may not ever get a chance to make another one. I think that's where it felt overly complex. Like there felt like every time the demon and Roscoe had some sort of dialogue together, it's like we got to throw more exposition and information at you, and you're just like, okay.
So that is something that I found interesting when we had the flashbacks of him in the dark womb. And, you know, he was always told, it's kind of like the God told Adam and Eve, like, don't touch the tree, don't eat the fruit.
Yeah.
Dimwos only said, like, don't uncork these rocks. Like, they contain the great evil.
Yes.
But of course, he goes ahead and does it. And then
so he could have all the power.
And then the demons trapped inside decided to, all they did was like snapped Dimwos's neck. And apparently that's how you kill the great Dimwos.
Well, yeah, I wrote down some of the weird demon connection underground stuff was odd. That's what I wrote in my note.
Apparently, after all of the tutelage and learning at Dimwos's feet, and I guess being sustained on green slime, which clearly it was that science experiment where if you put the liquid onto a speaker and you turn the speaker on and that's what makes it bubble like that. It takes like a liquid and sort of turns it into like a semi-solid. So like that's clearly what that was. But which, I mean, it was neat. It was kind of neat to watch. So apparently he's been sustaining on slime. He's been speaking the demon tongue.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as he escaped into the real world, why is his first lines in English to Ava? Why is he not immediately speaking like demonese?
Yeah, you know what? I didn't even think of that. You're right.
That would have been my first thing. Like, he should be ranting and raving in like abyssal.
He hasn't spoken to anybody but a demon for however many years.
Exactly. He should be just like going up to a truck and just be on like he should.
That's pretty good demon talk, by the way.
It's for my days in my heavy metal death band. Yeah, that was just a weird thing that I watched, and I'm like, wait, why is he talking English? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Ava, it's me.
Eva, it's me.
She just needed to look at him and go, cool, bro.
Yeah.
Who are you?
She's like, Roscoe, where have you been? Not like, your family has looked for you for over like almost 20 years.
But did they really? Like,
your mom is dead? No, because both the parents are dead. Was he like a suspect in their deaths? Because like they're burned alive and then suddenly he disappears. And I never understood whose house he decided to like hide out in, because it's just a random abandoned house.
Mm-hmm.
And then as like the movie progresses, we slowly see the powers that he is given. He can turn on lamps with his telekinesis. He can bright light demon scream and exorcise a demon and make its head explode. He has healing powers. Cool. No, that was pretty great. He has healing powers. He can touch a demon and exorcise him and then turn around and control the demon.
He could do whatever the plot needed him to do.
No, exactly, because movie has got to movie. And that's and that's exactly what this is. So I mean, like, I didn't like beyond the point of like, oh, he has a new power. I was just like, cool, let's continue.
I'm trying to remember how did he defeat him at the end? I'm trying to remember this.
Okay, so this is what happens. So the demon who went into the party where they're like cake.
That was the red-faced one, right?
That was the red-faced one that
looked like he got the mask from the movie demons.
No, that was the black one.
Okay.
That was the black-faced demon who turned the fiance into the Cronenberg demon.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah.
He did like his Jesus white boy scream at the window, and that made his head explode. And it killed what I deemed the three brides of Dracula who were like disrobing before him. And then the other two demons, he didn't kill. It was Cronenberg demon, the fiance demon. He killed the other two. So really, Roscoe Jesus only killed Roscoe Jesus only killed one demon. And I mean, just to jump to the end, like you have this giant setup. They're like, no, we're going to face down the zombie summoning demon. It's going to be great. I raise my hands up. Oh, he's kind of standing back. But then he raises his hands up and screams, and the back of their heads explode. And I'm like, whoa, you just killed our two leads. Thank God Cronenberg demon comes into play. After he's killed one already, stabbing its own horn through its face.
Yes, that's it. I forgot about that part. That was pretty cool. Again,
that was pretty cool.
The practical effects, like even with the zombies when they were like biting people and the flesh is ripping off of someone, I'm just like, the work that you put into this was fantastic.
100%. The effort is there, and you can tell like an eye for detail was put where it needed to go. I won't say an eye for detail is everywhere because that would not be fair. But an eye for detail went in the places that it needed to go.
I agree. Would you recommend anyone to watch it? Like, I 3/4 of the way through and I was like, Drew, you know, watch this. I need you to take some notes. We need to talk about it.
I would definitely recommend someone watching it. I think it's still a good time if you want to sit down with your friends, if you want to appreciate like a good start for someone's independent career, especially in horror.
And there are a lot of times you'll see a lot of these indie filmmakers that are like, I'm going to make an 80s inspired movie. And they're like, you're like, well, okay, you tried. This guy, especially with the practical effects and the creatures and everything else, knew exactly what, 80s inspired movie he wanted to make. And he nailed that part.
Yeah. Sure.
It was just the complexity of the story got a little too much.
I love that after all the training and stuff, like the most powerful thing that he could pass on was what I wrote down in my notes. The demon wind. when he basically like burped and then like breathed life into him. And apparently Roscoe Jesus can just transfer that to he can do the exact same thing to Eva. Wouldn't she? And she also now has the power.
Yes.
She can also speak Demonese.
At this point in production, I read that James Sizemore and the actress who played Eva, Ashley, I forgot her name.
They got married.
So maybe as they're towards the end, you're like, well, we're married now. So I'm going to make little edits to the script.
A twist of sticks that can be seen in the background. It's not bad. It's one of those things you're all like, wait, doesn't she need like a demon tutor? Nope, she doesn't. Okay,
but when you think about it, we've watched a lot of movies from the 80s.
We have,
and there are a lot of those movies that you're like, what the fuck is going on? But I'm in it for practical effects or kills or whatnot. So
never once did I pause this movie. Never once did I pause the movie.
There were some texts from you going, "What am I watching?"
And you just send back a meme. You send back a GIF going like, I think the only time that, again, I didn't pause it. I literally sat and I watched it all the way through, which is kind of uncommon for me because I'll usually I'll get up and go to the bathroom or refill my drink or something. I think the only time that I actually didn't continue straightforward, I rewound it so I could look at the kid versus Roscoe Jesus.
So you could compare them and how well they did on matching them in a way.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, I don't know. I like to see if they kind of like lined up.
Fair.
And I'm like,
okay.
Whoa.
Okay.
Well, because if you're supposed to believe it's the same kid, I mean, obviously you believe it's the same kid, and that a doorway to the demon realm is underneath a tree stump. It's like an Alice. You know what this is? It's like a fucked up Alice in Wonderland kind of almost.
Almost, yeah. I could see that. Like Pan's Labyrinth. That's what that is. It's in a tree. Before we wrap things up, out of a 5, what would you give this movie?
Out of a 5, I would give this.
How many demon horns would you give this?
How many demon horns? I would give this probably a solid 2 out of 5 demon horns.
Okay.
With another watch through, it might go to 2.5, but right now it's a solid 2 out of 5 demon horns.
For me, I think I'm kind of set at the 2.5 because right in the middle, and it's mostly for the practical effects in this movie because they're very, very well done, and especially like the concerts, like Slaughter, and how they lit and did the zombie whole scenes in that. I absolutely loved it. It was just the story was so convoluted that it dropped it down. Like I would definitely watch it again for the effects more than anything else, or tell people to watch it for the effects. So I think I'll sit right in the middle at a 2.5. Drew, I want to thank you not only watching this movie, but coming on Tales from Tubi and talking to me about it. It was a blast. Before you go, tell people where the real feels are. The realist and the feelist.
Well, guys, currently you can find the Real Feels podcast on any podcatcher every other Wednesday. Right now, we are in a bit of a hiatus for our main episodes, but thankfully, I have brilliant friends like Brad who come on and we discuss our 100 Days of Horror, or just any random little horror movie that we've been watching, like The Demon's Rook.
The Demon's Rook.
But you can, you can catch us up on any other podcatcher every 2 weeks. Search for the Real Feels Podcast up on Facebook and Instagram. And on Twitter, we are at Real Feels Pod.
Well, Drew will be back on Halloween as we are going to talk the anthology film 1031. So you definitely make sure you subscribe to the show so you don't miss not only that one, but I have one more guest coming for Tales from Tubi. Next week, my guest will be David from We Watched a Thing, and we are going to be talking Deadly Manor from 1990. It's a slasher film. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm excited to check it out. I'm excited to talk to him, snuggle up in that blanket, turn off the lights, because it's okay to be scared. We'll talk to you later, everybody.